Yo, it's your boy M coming at you today with the second video of the day. I'm gonna be reviewing Meatball Machine 2005. Pretty much, it takes place in Tokyo where parasites um, come to Earth and they're like mechanical robot weird parasites, and that they latch onto people and turn them into weird cybernetic monsters where these parasites pretty much go to battle with one another. So whoever wins eats the other parasite, and that's how they get more powerful. It revolves around this character who's a bit of a loser. He's just shut up. He's just a loser. He works at a metal factory where pretty much all his fellow coworkers are all a bunch of scumbags who womanize and treat women like shit. And there is a woman that he sees every day when he goes on lunch, and you can kind of tell that there's a bit of a connection between them developing. And they one night he goes out with a friend, and while he's out with his friend, he stumbled across is this girl that he sees during his lunch hours going on a date with his scumbag boss, and gets a little upset about it. His friend tries hooking him up with a prostitute. Things don't really go well between him and the prostitute because he's still a virgin, and ends up dipping out on the prostitute and heads back home. On his way back home, he comes across his scumbag boss, pretty much trying to push him, force himself onto this girl that he, has a crush on, and it upsets him. He pretty much gets into a fight with his boss, and boss doesn't really recognize him because that's how low he is to his boss, and doesn't even recognize him that he works for him. Pretty much was able to get the boss off this chick, and him and this chick end up going back to his pad where she tends to his wounds and tries to takes care of him, and he ends up admitting that he's had a crush on her for God knows how long, and that she was aware that he would always go on his lunch because they would always, casually make eye contact, but never do anything about it. And that she brought up that he gave off this energy that he was lonely, and that she could relate to it. And they kind of started, a little love thing happening. And pretty much, one thing I did forget, um, on his way back home, pretty much, and this is where the weird parasite thing happens. This parasite tried to make him into a host, in which this parasite didn't do so well, just because apparently parasites attach themselves to negative thinking people. So he freaking takes his parasite back home with him and forgets about it, and jumping back to this whole little love triangle that's developed between him and his crush comes clean about how when she was little she had a very abusive father who used to cut her and beat the shit out of her, leaving permanent scars on her body just because her abusive father did not want her to find any kind of love. It would always be damaged goods for whoever she comes across. And things were getting a little spicy, and clothing were getting taken off, and she warns this guy, that like, I'm scarred. And sure enough, they show these scars, and he gets a little disturbed by it, and she starts to pretty much I guess gaslight him, comparing him to all the other men that she's ever been with. And while things are getting really heated, between them and how he's trying to, explain himself why he's like a little off put by these scars. This parasite that he brought back rips out of the bag that he stuffed it in and latches onto this chick, thus turning her into some weird cybernetic monstrous, like ugly looking thing. And the whole process of it was very weird, to say the least. This involves a lot of tentacles, if you know where I'm getting. And she had some sense of humanity at first before this thing replaced her eyes with some weird giant screw things in her head and turns her into a complete monster. And pretty much he was able to escape. Now there's I guess you can say, a bounty hunter who hunts these things down in this movie. And when he escapes, he so happens to comes across this bounty hunter, and this bounty hunter usually just goes to different districts in Japan, hunting these things down and harvesting the parasite out of these things to feed to his daughter, which you end up finding out eventually that this POS is harvesting them and breeding them in his own apartment so his daughter can feed off of them, because I guess by feeding off of them, she's able to you know, retain some of her humanity, so she doesn't go full blown cybernetic, ugly, monstrous looking thing. And pretty much, with that being said, this bounty hunter saves this guy, takes him back to his apartment, and this dude, goes to sleep, finds out about all this stuff, but then he takes a nap, and then when he wakes up, the daughter is kind of, like, I want to show you something, and shows him the freaking little farm that he's got going on, like it's some kind of fucked up, weird Minecraft thing where he's just harvesting parasites. And turns this dude into a weird, fucked up cybernetic thing. And before he was able to completely get full blown turned into one, he was able to rip out certain things that, if before the transformation was complete, like say for example, like with the chick, his eyes would have to get replaced. When that was about to happen, he rips off the weird tentacle things that were about to replace his eyes with like giant weird screws, sensors, and then proceeds to rip off the parasite out of him. So it turned him into some weird hybrid cybernetic thing, who he still has all the powers, just that he's in control instead of the parasite being in control, like it's some mech robot kind of thing. And he goes looking for this chick who previously turned into some weird cyber thing, and tries to save her. It gets weird. The gore is pretty good. Don't expect too much out of it, because it's your typical grindhouse movie when it comes to practical effects, which I'm a fan of. Blood is over the top. It's very splattering, spray, to say the least. And yeah, if you're a fan of Machine Girl or Tokyo Gore Police, or even recent that I reviewed, Zombie Ass, Total of the Dead, definitely is up your alley. So, on that note, I will end this video today. Y'all have a good one. Peace.